Hi, and welcome to Spooky Isles. My name's David Saunderson, and today we're talking to Garry Fields, a TV medium who's worked in the business for, I think it's been over 12 years, has it, Garry?
Yes, good evening. Yes, about 12 years now, David.
Okay, we've spoken to a few sort of mediums that have done some work with some TV paranormal, I was going to say TV paranormal shows, but you've worked with quite a lot, and I think at one point you were working with up to 10 different teams each week. Is that right?
10 different teams in and around the UK, yeah. So just try to cover north, south, east, and west of the UK.
You must have, you've been pulled to all corners. What is it you like about working with television programs? I mean, it's a different kind of experience, I imagine, than the ones that we all like to do with, when there aren't cameras around. What is it that you like about working on TV?
I think generally it's nice to interact and put the evidence that you find and put it out there as well, and share your evidence is the most important thing as well. And what we receive as mediums, it's nice for people to understand what we receive as a medium and get them sensations of what's going on in and around the building and the location.
I think I've jumped into it straight away asking questions. So I probably should get understand a little bit more about how you sort of found your talent for mediumship. I was reading something where you were saying that you when you first sort of recognised it, you didn't really want much to do with it.
Yeah, I seen too much too quick, too soon as a youngster when I was about 5 years old, and basically seeing like a double ganger of myself, but in an open grave. But looking back at myself, so that was I felt more like a portal or a dimension where it was like seeing if I was all right in this life. I was about 5 years old, but my Reiki Masters said that I shouldn't have seen that type of scenario, and it was too much, too quick, too soon.
Is it a burden being a medium?
I have always found on the path that I was given different things where if you could handle stuff, they will work with you and give you more stuff to add on to it. So how you cope with certain stuff and situations, I feel that spirits went, okay, the little test, we can see what else we can give you, and then they build up on it over the years as well. So I think that's where they were gearing up to all them years ago for that to where I am today.
Okay, has it ever been too much for you, or do you think it's just the way? I mean, obviously it was too much at the start, but is it something you enjoy?
Oh yes, definitely. I've obviously I played football for about 35 years at an okay level over in the UK, and basically focused bringing a family up. And then after that, it was just seemed to open up even more around about when I finished football, about 37, 42, that period. It just seemed to heighten with everything, and met me Reiki Masters on a clearance of a very big building. And when I met my Reiki Masters, they said, oh, I've been waiting 35 years to meet you. And I was introduced to them by another medium. So I didn't know them as friends. But when you hear that type of scenario of they were spiritually waiting to meet me for 35 years as well. And it's like, wow, that's a big statement.
Can you explain what a Reiki Master is?
Yeah, it's just a natural healer. So you work with the universe, and it's the only known thing to scientists that they haven't got an answer for how it works or where it comes from and how it relates, and understanding with that as well. But it's natural healing in and around, works on good courses and all that as well.
Okay, so it wasn't. I understood what Reiki meant. It was just when you kept referring to you met your Reiki Masters. It just sort of sounds like are they a spiritual thing, or are they like a person standing there? I don't understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, it's basically they do self-healing and the self-taught spiritual. It's like another gift in your tool locker, basically, is the healing side of it as well as the spiritual side. And they basically helped me understand of all the energies that were around me from a young period to where I was when I met them, and understanding when I developed into a Reiki Master with the training, and helped with a lot of the mediumship around the energies around what was going on around me as well over, especially over the last 12 years. It's just been non-stop.
Okay, we'll talk about maybe the last 12 years because of the work you've been doing that's been more publicly. But what have you found the most interesting in your journey? I mean, on the Spooky Isles, we talk a lot about hauntings and the sort of the paranormal experiences that people have. Have you done this? I'm assuming you've done the straight house clearings or going and done the sort of the ghost hunts that everyone does. How did you actually physically start going and doing those?
it just seemed to meet certain friends, and you know, I've worked alongside many a medium off the telly, and I've been along to many platform evenings and stuff like that where mediumship had been working on the stage, and then it just seemed to grow around meeting the famous people off the TV and stuff like that, and then you know it's just developed into getting to certain locations and being invited, and then let's go, and it just led from local stuff and spread out across the UK. So you're doing your natural churches and having walks around castles around North Wales and stuff like that, and it just seemed to grow, and then getting drawn into other haunted locations as well and experiencing that.
What was your original home base? Where did you start off at?
I'm about 8 miles from Chester in the northwest of the UK. I'm Ellesmere Port, I'm based. So I'm quite close to the Wirral, about half an hour from Liverpool, half an hour from Manchester, 20 minutes from North Wales. So there's a big scope, you know. So
very much so. I think it's got some. What are some of the more popular haunts in that area that you've worked on?
I feel one of the most amazing buildings over in the UK is Newsham Park Hospital, which used to be an orphanage as well. And I think it was 99,000 square feet. So on a location at the same time, you could only investigate 4 locations of that for health and safety reasons, because if there was ever a fire or an emergency, people needed to know where you was, because the place is that vast. So again, you get drawn to places as well as a medium. You get drawn to, I've got to go here, I'm drawn to there, I've got to go to Scotland, and it takes you on your path, it takes you on your journey, and then somebody will say, you know, oh, we're going here this weekend, do you want to join us? And you're like, yeah. So it just seems to evolve that way as well.
This abandoned hospital that you just mentioned, what did you find there? Like, I mean, it sounds fantastic, it sounds very interesting, but what experiences did you have when you've been there?
Oh yeah, I found basically that a lot of just from your general nurses all the way up, from your doctors, your patients, very low level energies, demonic energies, weighted energies as well, that would try and affect you not getting there as well to a location, that play mind games a couple of days prior to going there. So things can go on as well where you might have a puncture and stuff like that as well prior to on the journey and stuff like that, or another team member's having car problems. And so there's a lot of things with certain locations in the UK that type of scenario was going on. But like Newsham Park, it's I think it's just an amazing building to, you know, it's got like a naughty boys corridor, it's got cellars, it's got basements, it's got autopsy rooms, it's just got a chapel and everything as well. But it is very dilapidated now, and there's only certain parts that you can investigate there. But it's been off the circuit a long time, because I think one of the more popular teams hires it out every weekend now. So unless you go along into their group, then they've got all that seems to be covered by them at the moment. So I feel the bigger companies are outpricing the smaller teams in the UK at the moment. So we're finding that going on. But again, it's up to us to go out and find different locations that's not been explored.
And I think when you have places that have been overexplored, it might wear down the thrill. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and then sometimes, obviously, with the periods that we've just gone through the last 15 months, when I've been out the last couple of weekends and that, I find it is really heightened again. So that break has been a nice thing in one way as well, where I think spirits and these overdone places, I think they've had time to recuperate themselves as well. So the energy is strong in and around the team, and the team's going out there all keen and eager. So everyone's just raring to go.
What's the kind of place do you like looking at? Obviously, that abandoned hospital sounds fantastic. Sounds like an amusement park of the paranormal. But what would be the sort of the criteria that you would want from a good location? Not so much for just investigating, because you could do that in any kind of house. But what do you like to see as something for people for the entertainment value?
I would safely say the intriguing side of it, where you know there's more of a chapter to get to the bottom of the story. You sense that if there's a little girl or a little boy waiting for you, a male, a female, and you get drawn into getting to the bottom of the story. So realistically, as a medium, you're more virtually like a spiritual detective, trying to put all the pieces together. I had the house clearance on Friday night at a little cottage, which was 400 years old. used to be a former inn, and obviously they've made the building smaller now. And a good friend of mine, she'd done some research about 25 years ago, and this little spiritual girl has been following her all the way since 1908, and she was actually murdered in 1908, and we found out where the grave was, and the communication that we had's all tied in, the people in that house, the cottage, the road, the street. So finding all that information is all tied in as well.
It is quite intriguing. It almost sounds like sort of a TV show, really, in itself. Some kind of old 1970s children's horror or something like that. That's interesting. I'm imagining that doesn't often happen, though. That sounds a really good one. There must be a lot of boredom in what you do at times.
But again, if you say boredom, I mean, I've done 48-hour lockdowns and had an amazing night, and then it's not been the same the night before. So I don't mind a quiet night in the way that you rest and recuperate, but a quiet night is, as a medium, you're always receiving some little intriguing tug, or someone's pulling your shirt, or someone's after you in another room, or drawing you to another part of the building, or go and sit out by a tree. You just need to focus on what the land was prior to its days. You know, it can date back from 1600s. You can link in with different periods and centuries and decades as well, so you can see the lie of the land. So you've got to find out what's gone on there prior as well, and all that type of information is like the onion layers, as they say. So a lot can unfold just by standing in any particular spot.
You know, I imagine that's right, because I mean, when you have a talent for these things, you're seeing things all the time or hearing, sensing things that the rest of us are not doing. So you in an empty room could still be a quite exciting place. We were mentioning before about how you've been doing this for about 12 years. I'm talking about the television rather than the sort of the straight sort of mediumship that you've been doing all your life. You've worked with different teams like Ghost Response, Enter in the Unknown, Ghost Dimensions. There's quite a lot on Amazon Prime now, isn't there?
Yeah, there certainly is. And I think when we first done the pilot for Sky and that, it was, we had to go out, the team had to go out and get sponsorship, for the advertisements for the middle and stuff like that, which he did. The Amazon Prime seems to be a base where people can flick through and have a little look, and if they're drawn to watching more, then obviously with Netflix and all that as well, there's that much these days that they can pick and choose as well. So the more options you've got, I find people do seem to follow you as well, and a lot of people do follow you and get drawn into where you're up to and where you're going, and obviously meet us on public events as well, which is always nice, and massive connections over in the States as well. So again, it just spreads all over to Australia. It just seems to, the globe seems to be much closer in the paranormal field, and the paranormal world seems to be a closer network.
What kind of teams are you drawn to? Because obviously, like on Amazon Prime or even any of these sort of, you can watch them. There's different quality of programs. What kind of ones do you like to work with?
I just basically I do a lot of raw stuff, so it is how it is. So if I put anything up on YouTube, it is how it is on the night. I can put a lock-off camera in one room and it might be quiet for 3 or 4 hours. I like Jack Osborne. I like the way he done his show, and it like the Paranormal Highways, where you pull up, you get out, you're drawn to something, you just run with it and then see what unveils. That's the type of stuff I like on watching how other people work as well. So it's always nice. I don't really get a lot of time to watch a lot of the paranormal shows, is because usually that busy myself within what I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like you're not going to be watching golf when you could be playing it. It's you're out there doing this. And I mean, what was it like? If you were doing working with 10 teams at a time, you must have had many nights free.
Yeah, but basically it always filled the gaps as well. So if it's like I'd rather keep busy than not busy, because if you're sitting in a mental state where you're just relaxed and unwound and you have a nice weekend off, that's nice. But at the end of the day, I love doing what I'm doing. I suppose it's still like your Scooby-Doo days, isn't it? Your first episode, you're still running with it, and you're still enjoying it, so it just never seems to be never ending. And that's what I love. And I've met some amazing people and contacted with amazing people and worked with amazing teams out there in the UK.
Yeah, you seem like the kind of person that likes to be out there and likes to be very active. It must have been quite hard. I mean, it was hard for all of us during lockdown over the last sort of 18 months. How was it for you?
I could safely say it must have been the worst case scenario that could ever happen for a medium, especially for myself. I'm a big follower of Liverpool FC as well. I missed one home game prior to lockdown in 10 years. So again, and then not going out on the paranormal evenings and catching up, it was just had to refocus, reconcentrate, I suppose recharge as well. So there has been a lot of that as well. But again, we set up a lot of shows where we were doing festivals online and interviewing people all the way around the globe as well. So we did like big, massive weekends as well. We keep on Paranormal team and keep on chatting and all that. So we've worked on a network and we've built that up to keep people focused as well. So we've known there's been a gap there where we've gone, we need to still keep interacting with the people that's sat at home in this current situation as well. So again, I suppose it's like moving the goalposts and trying to keep everybody focused. We're all in the same boat, in the same scenario. So, but we all still love the paranormal world. So we all just keep in touch and again, putting people back in contact with each other.
Yeah, no, I suppose what you said before about is a bit like when they said that like pollution, like early on in the first lockdown, they were apparently like pollution was better or something like that, in London. And so what you're saying is now that you can maybe go back to some of the original locations that you've investigated, and they might be a little bit more fresh, a bit more stronger in whatever. Have you actually you found that?
Yes, most definitely. And what I've done is I've actually I bought a van and I've actually converted that into a camper van so I can go out for longer stints and hopefully do some filming and get some more battlefields or somewhere a little bit more remote that's a little bit off the beaten track as well, but within the setup of, not looking for hotels and taking that scenario away. So, I basically put my money where my mouth is as well and gone, right, let's take it up a notch or two and let's see now if we can bring in even more locations that we've not been to and try and discover more places to investigate.
You've sort of when you said the word there, battlefields, and that sounds awesome. Can you tell us about maybe some of the battlefields you've investigated over the years?
Yeah, I went to, actually there's a place where I went was actually called Battlefield in the UK, and obviously was walking around on the land in Battlefield.
Where is that? Where is that?
It's in the middle of England, right in the centre of England. So and as me and my cousin Linda, she's an investigator, we're walking up and down the outskirts of the land by the hedgerows and that. I said, something's totally not right. I always go in blind, so I don't know the full detail. Obviously, you knew there was a battle there. And halfway round on this little walk of this like country park, it was a churchyard. And I walked into the churchyard and basically to the left-hand side, there was nothing in the churchyard. There was no graves. And I said, there's something not right. And on the right-hand side, there was all the graves and the headstones. And then my cousin, she was reading the plaque and she said, oh, there was just basically an open grave of 5,000 souls, just all basically laid to rest on the left-hand side because couldn't identify them. And that's why I felt the land was unsettled. And that's as you're walking towards it, maybe, a mile towards that church that I didn't even know was there because I don't do any research. But you could feel that something wasn't right. And then when you get there, you can see why it's not right. You can sense why it's not right when you get that type of information coming through that then poor souls have just been basically in an open grave. And, there's 5,000 souls there all on top of each other in the time, in the period, So that's why the land's not settled sometimes at these places when you're walking around. And that's the information that you get used to. Right, okay, if anyone wants to go and cross to the light, I'll help you with that. And I'll move them lost souls that's floating around that don't know where they're up to, or they've been taken too early, or not known what's gone on to them or how they've passed. Obviously they've known they've been in a battle, but they might have got a bullet to the side of the head or from behind, or then it could have a lot been scenarios. So a lot of these souls, if they've been taken too quick, too soon, it could just be within the realm and floating around and not gone to the light.
So, and that's the interesting thing you could do. You could go in there and have I don't want to use the word have a snoop around, but have a look around and feel what's going on, but then actually help them.
Yeah, definitely. And I do find I'm a helper, I'm a healer. That's part of what I do. But on the other hand, I've got good friends out there that call me the Sherlock Holmes of the paranormal world, which I take as a massive compliment because you've always got the incline of who's waiting roughly in and around you, what type of energy or entity is waiting around, if there's any shapeshifters and stuff like that. So you get an inkling of a certain building. I'll introduce myself to the gatekeepers on the land prior to investigating. So spiritually, you've got people that spiritually look after the land, positive and negative areas as well. So I won't go in there just bombarding, I'm just Garry. I just go in there and communicate as if you're going into a nice meeting or going into a nice board meeting or something, So again, it's that where it's got to be on a nice level, even keel on the communication side. So if they talk to me correctly, then I'll respond to them. But if they're over bombarding, it's like, right, I'll go and talk to the little old lady that's quiet over there, and you can wait in the background, and I'll catch up with you later on.
Yeah, I suppose that's with any. You do that anyway. If you went to a party and there was someone a bit too overwhelming, you'd go and talk to someone else.
Yeah.
So that's how you do that. So we're now coming out of lockdown, hopefully, and you've done a couple of investigations over the last couple of weeks. What have you got coming up?
Oh, I've got a list. Can I grab the list?
You can absolutely get the list.
2 seconds. First of all, we've got Shepton Mallet Prison, which has been on telly many a times. So we've got Shepton Mallet Prison coming up. I think Gloucester Guildhall, we've got a festival date there, so it's where a lot of like-minded people can catch up with us, and store holders there. So we're getting like a little get-together there. I've got Guy's Cliff coming up as well, so you folks that's listening can have a little look at these as well. Yep. Shrewsbury Prison, Falstaff experiences in Stratford upon Avon, Edinburgh Vaults, which is looking forward to. I love going to Scotland. We've got the Village Mansfield. Got Derby Jail, which is going to be a team investigation. I do like the team investigation, but I do like meeting the public as well, so the public can get us into certain locations that can be like £1,400 a hire a night. So there's a lot of expenses that the team have to put out there, and the organisers as well. So sometimes it helps with the events and meeting the public as well, get us to these places as well. So I think we've moved St Bravils to next year, which is another castle. I love me castles. So we've got St Bravils, which is going to be rescheduled for next year because the lockdown got put back 4 weeks here in the UK. So we've had to do a little bit of jiggling and that as well. We've also got a corn exchange in Leeds with another team, Lost Soul Seekers, and basically that's a never done investigation before, so I'm really looking forward to that, where I suppose it's like the Wall Street of Leeds, do you know what I mean? But back in the days for dealing with corn and that as well. So got some really amazing investigations coming up.
And there's some really quite famous places, so it'd be really quite interesting for you. Have you been to any of these places before?
Yes, been virtually all of them. I've been to Edinburgh, but I didn't go to the vaults. I actually went to Edinburgh Castle, and we went to different locations around Edinburgh Castle. But as soon as I got to Edinburgh Castle, my spiritual team have got links with Stirling Castle. So I got all the way up to Edinburgh, and then I said, no, I've got to go to Stirling Castle. As I was driving up to Stirling Castle, I got welcome home, sire, spiritually, and I felt like I was going to come off the slip road on the motorway. I was like, did you hear that? And my friend said, no, hear what? And I went, I just got welcome home, sire. And I was like, so that I think's linked with past lives as well.
Well, you've got lots of things going on then. That sounds fantastic. How can people find out about this? We're going to put your website on down the bottom here. Is there anything else you'd like people to know?
Yeah, I've got Garry Fields TV page on Facebook, and that. I've got Instagram and Twitter. We always share the locations on there. I do a YouTube channel where I do Raw Paranormal, which is Garry Fields Raw Paranormal. But what I do is basically you can see all the locations I've been over the last 12 years, basically. But I usually try and do it in a 4 quarterly. If I do an investigation, I'll do a walk around. Might do the first session on the evening with the team or with the public, and then just as it is basically on the night, that's how it is, just investigate, put the cameras up, people can see what it's about. So I'm trying to share that type of scenario for where your little old lady can't get out, or people are restricted, or people, I'm trying to share it where people want to go to a place and they may not be able to afford travel and accommodation and events fees and that. So I'm trying to give back of what I received as well. And obviously I've developed into other areas as well with my mediumship, which the Transfiguration and all that as well, which is amazing.
I can really feel you're excited that we're out of lockdown now, and you've got lots of things. You're sort of like a spring that's ready to bounce off. So thanks very much for that, Garry. We'll look forward to we'll put all those links in the bottom of things so people can find out where you're going, and we look forward to checking out your YouTube channel for maybe some of these events that you've just mentioned. So good luck and have fun.
Yeah, and thanks for your time, and thank you for having me.